employer withholding credit card tips as wage subsidy? How common is this?
My daughter used to work at Crumble, and when I reviewed her W-2 for 2023, it was pretty obvious they were not passing along tips from credit card payments. We questioned the employer and they said it was part of the policies and procedures she signed. They claim the $13/hour includes the credit card tips, as it exceeds the state minimum of $12/hour, so the employer is keeping the credit card tips and then allegedly passing it along to the employee as an extra $1/hour. They allege they are running at a deficit on the $1/hour subsidy, but, obviously, there is no way to know if that is true. I checked with the VA and they said that as long as the employer was meeting or exceeding the $12/hour minimum, then that is fair. I asked around people at work and pretty much everyone assumed the tips paid on the credit card at the point of sale were being passed along to employees.
How common is it that the employer is withholding tips that come across credit card transactions? Is this a routine practice, and I am just naive? If it is routine, I am never leaving tips on a credit card again, and start carrying cash again.
U.S. federal law prohibits employers from keeping employee tips under any circumstances. https://www.dole.gov/agencies/whd/FLSA/tips. The employer is allowed to collect tips for a common tip pool, but must also pay out from that pool and keep records regarding the tip pool.
Get in touch with the Labor Department because it's illegal.
Put a note on the tip jar stating card tips are kept by management. Put this on a Google review. Numerous Crumble franchisees have gotten caught and punished for doing this. It's clear the corporate office is pushing them to do this.
Y'all, it's not just the Department of Labor. The Department of Labor has over 80 agencies. And that's just federal. Not counting states. Call the Department of Labor Wage and Hour Division for your state. Tips are federal law, not state. Don't call your state's Department of Labor.
Company policy doesn't override employment law. Start calling lawyers. They cannot supplement the tips for $1 per hour. It's law that tips cannot be kept from employees.
Well, it's a crime, so not super common, but more common than you'd think. Hit up the labor board. That's wage theft.
Report. I worked for a daycare that didn't pay past the daycare closing time as teen. I closed. I ended up with $3,000 when the person who closed after I left did report them. Always been grateful to whoever it was that was wiser than me.
Wage theft? Very common.
Report the ASAs. There is a massive lawsuit about this very thing.
They're required to pay $12 an hour if her base wage plus tips equally less than $12 per hour. For the whole pay period, I believe. Not shift by shift. That doesn't mean they are able to keep tips over $12 per hour. They could be saying she's not tipped employee at all. That would be perfectly legal. But then they shouldn't be collecting tips at all.
No, I worked for Crumble and they pay higher than the area's minimum wage to bring people in. It's on the website and on the education. The tips are added, should be added, and they have an online app where you can track your paycheck and see the dollar amount and what % of your check is tips.
Make sure you get a copy of what she signed. If they have that in writing as a policy, it could go a long way in a lawsuit.
That is illegal.
As a customer, stuff like this makes my blood boil. When I leave a tip, I expect that 100% of that tip is going to the employees who served me. The employer should not get to keep a single penny. It's wage theft.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.